Hey everyone, welcome to the video. This one we're going over some of my favorite plays for the 3-game NBA slate for tonight on Draftkings. Before we continue though, if you could leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out and I really appreciate it. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. And if you're interested in the NBA spreadsheet I build every single night, it's got all my updates throughout the day because obviously a lot of things can change throughout the day. I make these videos late at night the day prior. There is a lot of injury news that comes out, so as of right now we are just speculating on the upcoming slate. So if you're interested in that, in my spreadsheet, my cheat sheet, and my Slack chat where you can chat with me all day, links in the description below for my Patreon. And I say we get right into the video. And first I want to talk about tonight or last night's slate. Whenever you're watching this was a pretty wacky slate. A lot of the studs absolutely sucked. Karl Anthony Towns and Joel Embiid, they ended up getting ejected, so they obviously had some bad nights. Steph Curry, who I was on, actually my main lineup, I went with the Westbrook, Harden, and Steph Curry trio, which was looking really good. I was more than likely going to win first in my single entries, but then Steph Curry ended up breaking his hand, so I only finished with 28 fantasy points, and the Warriors were getting boat race out of the stadium anyway. They were down 30 at one point. I believe in the first quarter they were down 30 points, so obviously that sucked. But if you played Harden, you played Westbrook, you were having a pretty good night. That Washington and Houston game was absolutely nuts. I believe it went over, I want to say it went over like 305 over under, something like that for the game. It was absolutely wild. I should have went in overtime, but Harden flopped and got the free throws, so they ended up winning by one. But yeah, that was a really fun game. Pretty much everyone did good there. Harden got 59 real life points. Westbrook got that triple double late in the game. He was sucking for a while too. He was like in the low 30s in the fourth quarter. He ended up stepping it up, got 56 fantasy points, and then Bertans was spraying threes. Eric Gordon was okay, but yeah, pretty much everyone in that game had some pretty good games, so hopefully you guys stacked that game up. It was a really fun game to watch. And anyway, that's enough of me talking about that, last night's slate. Let's get into it. So my spend up for today is going to be Nikola Jokic at 10K. So really, he's only had one game where you're really happy with playing Nikola Jokic so far, and that was in a nice pace-up spot versus Phoenix, who typically plays fast and struggles on defense. Also, he has an inflated 41-minute game because of the overtime, but he still averaged 1.6 points per minute in that game, where he scored over 60 fantasy points. He also had a triple-double as well. He's already had 2 triple-doubles this season, and that just shows his ability on a nightly basis with his elite passing ability and rebounding ability and scoring ability as a center. And well, we kind of have a similar situation here as the Nuggets find themselves in a nice pace-up spot versus New Orleans as they play blazing fast, 4th highest pace to start the season out of all teams. And it's a big boost for Denver because they typically play at a very slow pace. They actually are playing at the 2nd slowest pace in the NBA so far this season. So this is obviously a great boost for the Nuggets as they're going to be in a pace-up spot. And another boost for Jokic himself is that the Pelicans will be without Derek Favors, who is an above-average defender, obviously for sure, and so he should have no problems with the Pelicans' front court. They've already given up big games to fellow big men Draymond Green and Pascal Siakam, even though they're more power forwards. But Nikola Jokic, he's an athletic center, so he should be fine in this matchup. And like I said, this is a small slate, and we have to spend it for obvious studs because without them, well, you might as well just donate your money instead to charity or something, because without big studs on small slates, and if they go off, you're more than likely dead and you don't have a chance. Now, if you want to get extra contrarian and just go completely balanced, I understand that, but I feel like Jokic is going to be the guy to own tonight, and I will not feel safe without him. He's going to be very highly owned, and he's very easy to fit in. You should not have trouble fitting in Nikola Jokic. And honestly, if you want to just play one stud tonight, that's perfectly fine with me. You could also play Kawhi Leonard. He had that rest day yesterday, or today, whenever you're watching this, but no, I guess it's 1 a.m., so it was yesterday. But Nikola Jokic, he's my guy tonight. He's probably going to be everybody's guy, but I think you're going to have to play him almost. And the Vegas total, it's not out yet, but I have to imagine it's high, especially versus New Orleans. So Nikola Jokic, he is my spend up tonight. I will be putting him in my lineups as of right now, unless something changes throughout the day, but I really don't see what would change for me to get off of Nikola Jokic. So he's my stud of the night. Then after that, we can go down the chart a little bit. Trae Young's hurt. Kawhi Leonard, I mean, he's fine, but I'm not really in love with him. Drew Holiday, he has been very disappointing to start the season. He should be coming off the injury. He is probable to play the knee sprain, so I'm expecting him to play, but not something I'm too interested in. I mean, if you look at his game log so far, it's not been great. 29-29, been disappointing. Obviously, I think those numbers come up, but it is a tougher matchup versus Denver, so I'm really not too interested in him. Paul George is out. So that's going to leave me to John Collins at 8,300, and I actually like him a ton tonight. So we just saw him smash in this spot last time out, and I see no reason he can't do it again. Power forwards are having a lot of success versus Miami right now, and like I said, he just did it versus them, and he scored 50.75 fantasy points. That's the kind of upside we get from someone like John Collins every single night, as long as he stays out of foul trouble. Another key thing here is that that Trae Young is out, which means the offense is going to have to lean on Collins even more, now more than ever, I should say, as Young is leaving behind a 36% usage rate and 1.52 points per minute. So I'd expect all of Collins' numbers to get a bump here, and on the season, he's already averaging 1.2 points per minute and a 20% usage rate. So let's just say we give him like 33 to 35 minutes for tomorrow as a projection, and then just use his points per minute right now. That's a baseline projection of around roughly 42 fantasy points. Then you got to factor in the matchup, the high pace nature of the Heat so far, and then the expected bump in usage and points per minute for Collins with Trae Young out. I think he can easily hit 50 fantasy points again, and I think he's going to be pretty popular on the slate, and I think it's for a good reason. So John Collins, he makes a lot of sense to me, and he's someone I'm going to want to get in my lineups. And then Jimmy Butler, I mean, he's okay, just not someone I'm like super high on. Brandon Ingram, he's been an absolute monster to start this season. It's a tougher matchup versus Denver, but he's been great. I mean, 57, 63, 46, 41. Now with Drew Holiday playing, he will see a bump, a downgrade for me, not a bump. He's going to see a downgrade, but he's been really awesome to start the season. But with Drew Holiday playing, it kind of takes me off of him a little bit there. But that leaves me with Bam at 7,600. So his price came up. He was 7K last time out, scored 44 fantasy points as chalk. But, so like I said, he scored 44 fantasy points as chalk last week, and everyone loved him. So I don't see any reason why I don't see another reason why we can't all love him again. He's only 600 more expensive, and he's still pretty affordable. And I like him a lot here. I think we go right back to the well, even despite the price tag. And Miami has played at a pretty fast pace this season, and Atlanta did last year, but they haven't really caught up to speed totally yet. But I do think they'll end up playing faster than they are right now. Bam has had a double-double in 3 out of 4 games to start the year, and he's put up 40-plus points 3 games in a row now. And since he's gotten a full complement of minutes, because if you look at his first game where he only scored 33 fantasy points, he only saw 24 minutes, and that was due to a blowout, so he didn't really have to play a full just his full rotation. So obviously we're not going to get the upside that he's shown the past 3 games. On the year, he's averaging 1.3 points per minute, and this is an awesome matchup versus Atlanta, who is giving up the most points to opposing centers right now in the league. And just like Collins, we just saw him excel in this matchup last time out. I don't see a reason why he can't do it again. So Bam Adebayo, I think he makes a lot of sense. The only problem is I can see a way that we were all going to want to go with Jokic and Okafor at the center and utility spot. So maybe that makes him a little bit lower owned because of that, because we're going to like the value guy and then we're going to like the expensive guy. But if you want to go mid-range at center or utility or whatever, I think Bam is your guy. I think he makes a lot of sense, and I think he's got plenty of upside here. So I do like him. Aldridge, DeRozan, they're kind of whatever. Lonzo, he takes a hit with Drew Holiday being in, more than likely. So let's just talk about some more mid-range, cheaper guys. I mean, some of these guys are fine, but I don't want to talk about every single guy in the slate because that doesn't help you. I just want to talk about my main targets to steer you guys in a general direction. So we can talk about Will Barton at 5K first. I actually like him a lot on this slate. And I'm gonna have a lot of pieces of this game because I just love using guys versus New Orleans, as we all should. And I'm sure we're all gonna use guys versus New Orleans heading into tomorrow, so they're gonna all be pretty high owned. But it's for a good reason. They play at a fast pace and they don't play defense, so it's perfect for fantasy. And also, more specifically, they're getting blitzed by opposing guards right now, giving up nearly the most points per game to the position. This game is going to have points put up from both sides of the ball, so the cheaper options will have appeal here, as usual for most high-scoring Vegas totals. The total's not out yet, but I'm going to assume because of the bad defense of the New Orleans Pelicans, and obviously their terrible defense. And just kind of like the Wizards and Houston game, I like cheap options from that game, and a lot of them ended up working out, like Bertans and guys like that. So. And Barton's actually been pretty good. He's scored 30-plus points in 3 out of 4 games this season. I think he's going to be a very popular play hitting into the slate in this matchup. He was very chalky last time out. I believe he was around 50% owned in double up. So I do imagine he's going to be popular again, especially in a great matchup versus the Pelicans. And he's averaging about 1 fantasy point per minute this year, so you can do the math on that. If he gets around 30 minutes, which he has been, he should get you about 30 fantasy points and upside for more in this matchup. So he checks on the boxes for me tomorrow, and I'll give him the nod over Gary Harris, who we're actually going to talk about right now. I think they're both fine plays, but I do like Will Barton more than Harris, but Harris is also fine at 5,100. He's just a smidge more expensive than Barton, and while I think he's also a good play, I just like Barton more since he has more upside, in my opinion, with his scoring ability and higher points per minute. Like I said, Barton is sitting around 1 points per minute, and Gary Harris is sitting around 0.69 points per minute. 0.69 points per minute right now, which is obviously not great, especially compared to Barton. But he's coming off a nice 2-game streak here with 28 and 30 fantasy points. And he's going to get big minutes in a good matchup, and I think 23 to 27 fantasy points is a fair projection for him with upside of more. And I think both are great plays in the mid-range. So I think they're both going to be pretty popular. You can both put him in a guard slot, so don't mind either of them. I do prefer Will Barton, though, and I do think he's going to be pretty popular, as will Gary Harris, just because it's such a small slate. Now for some cheaper guys, we're gonna have to find some value on this slate, which we do every single slate, and I think Jahlil Okafor at 3,400 makes a lot of sense here. So with favors as listed as doubtful right now, I don't imagine he's gonna play. Okafor at 3,400 becomes a really nice value play, and this is really all about the price. He should see anywhere from 18 to 22 minutes, and he's honestly not been bad for fantasy purposes while he's on the court so far, averaging 1.23 points per minute. I love getting guys that can average over 1 point per minute, because obviously that means you're very efficient when you're getting minutes. And he's not going to get a boatload of minutes, but if he's going to get around 20 minutes, he should get over 20 fantasy points, which I think is a very fair projection for him on this slate, or in this game. It should be pretty fast-paced. Now, it's not a great matchup versus Denver or anything, but, just don't suck. Get me over 15 fantasy points, and I'll take it because he's going to allow us to fit in some of the studs or better mid-range guys on the slate. So, Jahlil Okafor, I think he makes a lot of sense. Then last guy I want to talk about is Jabari Parker at, I believe, 4,300. Yeah, 4,300. And so this is just directly correlated to Trae Young being out, as everyone is going to have to step it up a little bit, and I like his upside at this cheap price. It's a good matchup versus Atlanta, and not Atlanta, Miami, and I think he's a safe bet for 20 plus fantasy points here in 20 plus minutes as well. So I think he's a very viable option coming off the bench. He's gonna have to, he's gonna have to do more production here with Trae Young being gone, because Atlanta's gonna have to score some points, and Miami's going to be playing fast. They got a higher Vegas total, so Atlanta's going to have to play catch up a little bit. And I think Jabari Parker's going to have to step up coming off the bench on the second unit. So Jabari Parker, he makes sense as a nice value play. I think that's going to be all the guys I want to talk about on this slate. Obviously, things can change throughout the day depending on injury news and whatnot. So if you're interested in all my updates, links available in the description below for my Patreon. If you haven't already, follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. I'll try to retweet news or something, or maybe I'll make a unfunny joke here and there. So if you're interested in that, my Twitter link's in the description below. Remember to leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we can get to 3,000 subscribers soon. That would be awesome. I think that's about it. Hope you guys had a great night last night. Hope you played James Harden. Hope you played Westbrook. I hope you played everybody in that Wizards Houston game. So anyway, I'll leave you guys with that. If you haven't already, watch the showdown video I posted for the NFL tomorrow. And yeah, see you guys in the next video.